And greetings. Welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. Today is Sunday, March the 29th at the end of the month, and I'm joined today with my good friend and co-producer, the one and the only, Mr. RSI himself, SeriousFun. How are you, my friend?
Welcome to the Rock.
Welcome to the Rock. I forgot about that with Sean Connery. Oh my God, that goes back. Oh my God. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
good?
4-7 is out. 4-7 is among us. It's
Yeah.
happening. It's here. People have played it. And so I'm excited. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm very happy for something in particular, and that's the fact that you are now officially a part of the Evocati, and also you've been in the PTU. And some of our Evocati folks haven't been around because they've been working. Colossal hasn't been around. Jade hasn't been around. So I'm glad you're here because I have not investigated this patch as much as I should have. And normally I try my best to get in there and be doing it. But this is one of the ones I'm oblivious to. So I'm going to be leaning a lot on you tonight to kind of flesh out the things that we can see. We do have a lot of stuff to cover today, gang. So we're going to try and get through as much of this 4.7 stuff as we can. All I can tell you is we got a lot of stuff, okay? So we kind of talked a little bit about this when we were going down the list of things that have come up so far, but I'm going to read these off and then Sirius, I'm just gonna let you talk about them. Maybe that'll be the best way to do it.
Okay. Okay.
For the Operation Breaker Stations, these are missions that are located in Nyx that will task players with rebooting one of the many new QV breaker stations to break open and gain access to abundant mineral resources at the center of the asteroid. Players will need to fight their way through various NPCs and creatures, as well as engaging with puzzles and hazards during the course of restoring the station's mining capabilities. QV breaker stations are assigned as part of an exclusive or shared missions. Players can choose to pay more for the exclusive access or pay a smaller fee for a potentially more contested mission location. It's on you.
Yes. Trip Rodriguez, thank you for the raid.
Oh, Trip.
31 viewers.
I didn't see
Outstanding. We
that. Thank
appreciate you.
you.
You were
Absolutely.
busy reading. That's my job.
Trip, thank you so much. We're going to give a shout out to Trip Rodriguez, Mr. Joysticks himself. Thank you so much for gracing us with your viewers, and we try to take care of them as best we can. We're talking about update
One of
4.7
the
for those of you
raiders
who
said,
just got here.
or three,
Mhm.
I was going to say, sorry, the prisoner said Trip was just doing the breaker stations. So,
Okay. There you go. Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Doc. What are you going to say?
no, I was just going to say that, these are clearly, from a design standpoint, an evolution from Onyx
Mm,
and the Lazarus missions, an
mhm,
evolution from the Hathor missions, where CIG was testing out ideas. And here in Nyx, I think you see an idea in its complete form, right?
mhm,
This is a fully fleshed out dungeon. They are allowing us to gain access to it from an exclusive or shared standpoint. I throughout Evocati, PTU, and now in the live, well, not even in live yet, but throughout Evocati and PTU, I selected both to see what the experience was like in terms
mhm,
of what did it mean to have an exclusive mission? What did it mean to have a shared mission?
mhm,
I had heard in the ether that players were subverting the idea of exclusive by
mhm,
leaving their ships on site and somehow coming back to their ships. Um, I never experienced that.
mhm,
What I did experience on the exclusive missions was a real opportunity to take your time,
mhm,
right? A real opportunity to really explore all of the site and the detail.
mhm.
And you still have that shadow over your head because you're used to being a Star Citizen, so you're waiting for somebody to come out of nowhere and wreck the party or get wrecked, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But that wasn't my experience at these exclusive locations. At the
Okay.
exclusive locations, you got to really lean into the lore, the signage, the lighting, the experience, the sound, and it was really PvE in its manifestations. Shared missions were different.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
people could roll up, and different people
Right.
did roll up, and
Yeah.
some of them were friendly, and you do the flashlight thing to each other. and
Mhm.
other people came with a party to dominate the space,
Mhm.
right? Because of the potential rewards at the end and the looting all throughout. So,
Yeah.
but I will say that I feel like this is a great example of the evolution of CIG in terms of their level design. You know, we talk about it and we see it in terms of ships, right? The Mark One Aurora versus the Mark Two Aurora.
Mhm.
Um, Later RSI design in ships versus early RSI design in ships. Same thing is happening with these locations.
Okay.
This is, I think, the best of what CIG has had to offer. And the Breaker Station experience as a whole, for me, is some of the best stuff that they've done. So I really enjoyed it.
Let me ask you a question. We mentioned about this evolution from Hathor, from Onyx, ASD. Um, there are times when CIG obviously is doing things that game companies do, right? There's certain game design, certain models that tried and true that work, right? If you go to Hathor, if you go to ASD, well, Hathor in particular, if you go to Hathor, there is a possibility that you will run into someone, right? They're on the map, they're on the moon. Uh, you may go through the whole Hathor thing and not run into anyone. You may be in the middle of your thing and run into someone. You may get to the end and run into someone. And that's kind of the general game model. But CIG this time is doing something where they're offering two. And they started this back with the contested zones previously, right? When they were testing contested zones at Pyro. They're creating a space for people who are interested in encountering other players. But then they create an exclusive area for people who want to push through a mission with their group, their friends, and be able to accomplish something. I don't know too many games that do that. And maybe there are guys. I don't know all games, so if I'm please don't take it that I'm saying that that's the way it is. I'm just saying I don't know of any games that at that level do that. Where especially because you have to pay a higher price to have that exclusive area, right? It's not equal priced or anything like that. Is this a solution? Is this a different game solution, game design solution? Because I know a lot of people were naysaying right off the bat. As soon as they hear it, they don't think it's going to work. But is this something that could possibly actually work that allows people to have encounters the way they want to have encounters, and doesn't take away from, you don't make people do one or the other, that those options are still there? Uh, I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
first thing I would do in responding to that is go back to the initial premise, right?
Mhm.
Which is CIG on occasion does some things that are just done in the industry, right?
Mhm.
Well, do they? Right? Is an interesting question
Mhm.
because I would argue that on point number one would be almost always they do a CIG twist on it, right? So
Mhm.
very rarely is it exactly what we see out in the world.
Mhm.
But the second thing, a lot of people's reaction to this, and particularly the naysaying reaction, starts from a premise of what's been out there in the gaming world is the totality and spectrum of game design you can have with these gamer humans and their gamer human nature,
Mhm.
right? Like, so there are no other designs
Mhm.
because gamers are human. This is human nature. You have to account for it, and this is what it is. I appreciate that it seems like in a testable alpha, CIG is testing some of that, right? So when we did the ASD and the Onyx missions, people could show
Mhm.
up to those too, right? Um, they just that so they tried a distributive model with the Onyx ones, right? Like
Mhm.
there's 120 locations or whatever on a server, so it
Mhm.
made it relatively unlikely,
Mhm.
right? And there's particular things you have to do there where the incentive isn't necessarily to um to shoot me, even if you see me,
Mhm.
right? Um, and now they're trying this model, right?
Mhm.
So I think in a testable alpha environment, they should be trying a lot of different things and see what our actual habituations and behaviors actually are,
Mhm.
right? Um, I worry, I would worry if CIG just fell into game design and tropes of games that we've seen before,
Mhm.
as if there's nothing to test or
Yeah.
experiment with or figure out for this world.
Mhm.
Um, in particular, because and Chris Roberts raised it recently in a recent interview I think he did Down Under,
Mhm.
where the only thing that's going to the one thing that we know is going to happen is this universe is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. There's
Mhm.
going to be more and more space between us, right? So what does it mean when there's more and more space between us when players cluster, right?
Yeah.
If I'm already, I mean, you talked about it the other day. If you don't want to be found, you can go down to Daymar and land somewhere and not be found,
Mhm.
right? If you really don't want to be found,
Right.
right? And we only have 3 systems,
Mhm.
right? When we start getting more systems and more space,
Mhm.
people are going to be going to a lot of different corners, right? And so what brings us together? And so I think they're thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we're testing stuff now. They want to give us gameplay now, but they're also thinking about systems that will work when the verse is a
It's
real
bigger.
verse,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Uh,
That makes sense. All right.
yeah.
So that's the breaker stations. Everybody knows that one of the big things that we've been looking for quite a while is the inventory rework. We saw this 2 years ago, and CIG has finally released it after some tweaks and fixes and things like that. It's still got some things that need to be done to it. But we kind of see the direction that they're going with the UI. At first, it feels cumbersome, and I think that it feels cumbersome not because it's design. For some people, they probably will say it's design. I think it's cumbersome because we were used to how the old one was for so long. And I remember even when we transitioned out of that a little bit, it took a little bit. But I think that with our comments and suggestions, that it can be refined even more. I heard, um, I was watching Info Runners the other day, and Execute mentioned something that he thought would be helpful, which I agree with. I'm an old man and my eyes are bad, and that's when I'm looking at my inventory. It would be nice that when I mouse over an item, that a larger version image pops up, even though it does give the description of the item. I would love to see the image because sometimes it's clothing and sometimes it's a certain color clothing or a certain color weapon. For the most part, I can kind of figure out most of them, but there are times when I actually have to mouse over it and look at the description to make sure it's not a Canuto version of an A3 AO3 versus the regular AO3. So to be able to see like a little bubble pop up with that thing and I can see it like, oh, that's the one that's one little fix I would love for them to do. But for you, Serious, I know it takes a little bit to get used to how the tabs are and whether you're looking in legs or core or backpack. Any thoughts on the inventory we work for you?
Yeah, I my initial reaction was to acknowledge the friction and inertia that comes from changing from any system A to system B, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is,
Yeah.
right? You're going to have the things that you were used to, right? And then there's the new thing, right? I was struggling early on, for example, with moving stuff and not moving it to the body, but moving it to the circle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you reminded people, you can double click, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it does say that down the bottom, right? Don't forget that you can double click to do these
Mm-hmm.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a physicality that I like in doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and pulling off as well. Um, uh, the speed of things when the inventory was working, when servers were up and running, everybody jumped in at first for
Mm-hmm.
4.7, so there was a lot of clog at the
Right.
beginning. But the speed relative to the old system is one of the things that I love uh, about the new system. I like the 2-panel layout, so I can pull myself up on both sides and move stuff back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I am still struggling
Mm-hmm.
with nearby inventories,
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta get used to that. Yeah.
not as much as I thought I was going to be when I
Yeah.
first experienced it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if they've lowered the distance in terms of the meters.
I knew I requested that they would bring it in some because so far it seems like it's stuff that's pretty close to you. I don't know how far out
Yeah,
it goes. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not hating it,
Yeah.
but I'm I'm paying attention to what it if it's a harbinger for anything else because
Yeah.
I like physicalized stuff, right?
Yeah. Same here.
Um, the stack feature has not been working.
Yeah.
Um, the sort feature has, but there is more of a delay than I'd like in
Hmm.
the sorting. And for other people, it hasn't been working after you sort once,
Hmm.
right? The search feature, same thing, right? So
Hmm.
I can search, it'll give me my item, and then when I clear that, I don't get my full inventory back with the quickness
Yeah.
that they've now have trained us to expect with the
Hmm.
system. So there's some bugs to work out. I my assumption is that's all on the back end, um, and this is why they need us, right? Because they play with the inventory, they build it out, they
Hmm.
do it in on their test servers. But what's it like when a million players jump in there, right?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
helps with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the comments. They were saying that maybe when you're doing on a heap of bodies, that general inventory thing is fine. I think the problem that I have, I there's a part of me that feels like this is being put in solely for the sake of expediting. That's it,
Mm.
just to make things faster, right? And the my problem with that is that when there are multiple areas or multiple, even with multiple bodies to check, I want to know which body I'm looking at, right? So I'm not repeating myself. Maybe you looked in one, I looked in one. Maybe there's a particular one I want to look at. So that interface of me walking up to a body, kneeling down at it, and looking at it, I like doing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to stand there around a bunch of bodies and I got to click between tabs and figure out which one did I clear that one already. That's not that one. Which one? And you can visually see who's carrying what. And if I want to know, I want to get that particular rifle off this particular person or out of the, that multiple thing kind of messes with me a little bit. So I'm trying to not embrace it, but I'm trying to give room for it to see whether it grows on me. And I say, okay, I get it. But there's a part of me that still feels like this is all that's being done to expedite a process. And unfortunately, that it breaks the immersion a little bit for me, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for me to loot through. So I still, yeah, who is that? Essential. Yeah, I'm the same way. I still like to go
Yeah,
to the
me too.
box and open it up. I just prefer doing that. I don't want to stand in the room and all this stuff comes up and I got to sit through tabs and figure out which one I'm looking at. If I want to go to the box, that's fine. If I don't want to go to the box, it's fine. I don't want five options around me when maybe I'm only seriously considering two of them. Sometimes you guys know how it is. You don't even want to look at a body because you don't care what's on the body because you don't need it. So yeah, architect hand wavium. Yeah, it breaks the immersion. And I know some people like
Yeah.
it and I'm not
Well,
against it per se. It's just I prefer the
yeah.
immersion side of it.
And some people will say, well, you go up to the box, I can do the proximity looting, everybody gets what they want.
Yeah,
What I don't want is to walk up to boxes and they've already been dealt with, and I'm the first person to walk up to the box in the room because
yeah,
somebody else was behind me but close to the box and went to that box first, and then it's just that
yeah,
feels that feels unbalanced,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So um, I'm with you on that. I
Hmm.
think 100% we're the same way on that.
Okay.
Um, I we will see. And to CIG's credit, I don't know if folks remember, but I remember when we first got the inventory stations,
Hmm.
um, they had a top part and a bottom part that would open up
Right,
and give you the items,
right.
and it felt like those two things were too much. They consolidated it down. I
Hmm.
don't know if we had the original one long enough to miss it,
Hmm.
right? But we did have that, and they we gave them feedback, and it changed.
Hmm.
So this this and other things about the inventory, just remember to give them your feedback because I don't think they're afraid to change it. So
Yeah, yeah. Prisoner, I agree with you. For box organizing, yeah, it does make that a little bit easier, right? When you're moving things from crates back and forth, that's fine. When you get your one SCU and you're moving your weapons to another box, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll get refined, right? We're still working it out. That's just my personal preference. Moving on. Crafting, Fabricator, and Blueprints. Crafting is now available in Star Citizen, allowing players to use gathered materials to produce items via a new deployable machine called the Item Fabricator. One, the item fabricator does blueprints, material quality and mining updates, material distribution overhaul, crafting an item, crafting queue, and dismantling. I know you have been checking out this whole thing with blueprints and crafting and building. I've only crafted one item, and that's it, because I just wanted to see what it was like. And we got some blueprints last night, as you said. We went out last night and we got a P6 blueprint. We got some stuff we
Yes,
didn't expect,
yes,
the AO3 blueprint and some
yes,
other stuff that we got. I was really surprised, like, oh, a P6 blueprint. That just made my day.
yes, it
Um,
did.
yeah, but go ahead. What do you tell us about the crafting thing?
Well, I keep trying to jump up into the window as it's running to see what's happening inside. There's a bunch of lights and noise, but the this for me is the Rubicon, and we have now crossed it.
Mm-hmm,
Welcome to the real player economy, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
There's been a lot of workarounds, and there'll continue to be some of those, but this is the beginning of that. And I think, and it will in fact take until people start going through the whole thing,
mm-hmm,
right? Getting access to materials, whether they go out and mine them themselves or they have somebody in their group bring them high quality materials, getting blueprints, um, starting to craft items, starting to have these experiences with their favorite weapon or armor that has these improved stats, right? Um, Having that stuff have wear and tear or whatever, losing it, dismantling it, um, living the difference between standard armor and crafted quality stuff.
mm-hmm,
Once we start having more of those touches and more of those experiences, I think this will come into its own. And by that time, you're going to have people who are going to begin to be known for doing great work, right?
mm-hmm,
You're going to begin to have people who are in a small group that they only do 900 quality and higher, right?
mm-hmm,
And you're going to want your salvo frag pistol to be crafted by Griffin because that he only does 950 or higher,
mm-hmm,
right? And that's why it'll take you 2 months because that's hard to find, right? Enough materials at that level, right?
mm-hmm,
But you can come back to him and he'll do it, and you can pay him for it and things like that. That type of stuff is coming now and has the opportunity to come because we now have the full loop within there. There's other things they can add to the loop, but there is a full loop now from crafting to dismantling and finding the materials that gird all of that experience. So
mm-hmm.
um, I only worry that this is an underestimated component to this
Yeah.
particular patch because people haven't really had an opportunity to be in it and do it and see the whole life cycle of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think the idea when we talked about the model of Star Wars Galaxies and how you had weapons crafters in that game, and those weapons crafters didn't just make premium weapons. They also made mid-grade weapons, right? The premium weapons were, as you mentioned, more difficult and more rare to produce. So it was not unusual for you to get a weapon that would have been maybe rated an 88. You know what I mean? You might have wanted a 95, right? You didn't find 100s. You know what I mean? You got 100, which is what you aspired to, but you didn't get a 100. But if you got a 95, it was that, you know what I mean? Or 96, that was great. But you didn't put your nose up to an 88 either, right?
right,
Because if
right.
that's all you got, that's all you got. Or if that's all you can afford, that's all you could afford. So I think that even though there's a general feeling of working toward a meta, I think you're going to find that armor crafters, weapons crafters are going to provide better grade than what you buy in the store, right? The store is supposed to be the generic brand, right? But anything beyond that, they may have literally, they may say, and I'm not trying to be funny, they may produce 800 grade series, 900 grade series, 700 grade series. And maybe you're going to buy the 700 grade series because getting the higher ones are going to be either extremely expensive or it's going to take you a while to get them. But the 700s can be produced easily. So when you've got a ship like me, like a 890 jump that has 32 gun racks in it, I might
Hmm.
just buy those 732 guns
Right,
and put them in there. You know what I mean? Because I
right.
may not be able to afford or have the ability to get 32 900 level guns. So I think that you're going to see that also, as you mentioned, this is what's going to start introducing economy, right? Whether it's armor, whether it's weapons. And again, as we guys, you all know, FPS is all that's introduced in crafting right now. There's not all the other areas of it yet, but this is where we're starting at. But we know it's going to go into other areas such as furniture, all types of other things that are going to come up. Especially, I can't wait till clothing comes in. I'm really curious to see what they're going to allow us to do with things like that. Let me give a quick shout out to Anxiety SC for the follow 45 minutes ago. I'm sorry we missed you before the commercial. Vengeful, thank you for that resub. Appreciate seeing you out there as always. Trip, we saw your message. We knew you were hung up in Discord, but as again, we're glad to have you with us. And Rastasan, our good friend, author, good friend of ours, 34 months. Thank you for that resub as well.
The problem is that
Mhm.
you're happy to have that 700 or 600 grade weapon in the 890 jump until that Legionnaire rolls up.
Well, I'm just saying,
and
if I
go
got to
to
provide
shoot 'em,
weapons, well, listen,
and they've got 800 armor,
well,
and
listen,
they
if
take everything you have, you won't ever let that happen again.
well, let me say this: those 32 guns are for my guests. Okay, that's when everybody gets a gun, and we're gonna put as much alpha damage on the 800 suits. It don't make a difference. 32 people shooting at you at one time. It'll make a difference if you got 1,000
That's
armor
fair.
on. You going
All
down?
right, all
Okay.
right.
All right. There was some additional gameplay updates. There was an AI overspawn guard, put further safeguards in place to help reduce unintended AI overpopulation during missions. And also, they added a Yurmandi and Apex irradiated hunting missions. These missions will require a high amount of bounty hunter guild progression to acquire. Now, both of these are really interesting because we know CIG has been working on this AI piece with NPCs, making NPCs and respond in much more natural ways in the areas of how they approach us, taking cover. Last night we had an issue where dropship came in and flanked you guys, right? When we were up in the mountains, up at the peak. What was that place called? Something Peak.
Prophet's Peak.
Yeah, Prophet's Peak. And didn't they throw some grenades at y'all or something? They were doing something.
They were you had ground troops that were pushing and grenading us, but they also dropped in. They had the reinforcements dropped in as well.
Yeah,
So
Cuddy came in.
Two different, Cuddy Black,
Cuddy Steel. Mm-hmm.
Cuddy Steel, and they were coming at us from two different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that was good stuff. I think that type of thing is intended gameplay. What wasn't intended, and you remember this, was when we would go out to the ADS locations and you would see 100 NPCs spawn.
Yeah.
And they were coming out and kept coming and kept
constant.
coming.
Yeah.
And that was what I think they're trying to fix with the overspawn guard.
Yep, this is it exactly, because it was crazy at the facility. They just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and it was like you just had to bring a ton of ammo, and after a while, first it seems exciting, then after that it's like, what the heck, you can't even do the mission because you can't turn your back without another guy showing up, and that was just breaking immersion completely. The Yurmandi for the hunting missions. I've never done these hunting missions. I don't even know what these hunting missions are. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, I no, because I don't have enough bounty hunters.
Oh, bounty hunting to get to those yet? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So
I've got to roll with a Captain Jones or somebody like that to even get access.
Yeah. All right. For you bounty hunters out there, I'm sure you all are licking your chops for this one then. With the Yurmandi. It should be pretty interesting. All right. Let's move on here. Okay. Here we go. The new ship.
It began with an idea. More than curiosity, more than a yearning. It was humanity's extraordinary instinct as a species to look up in search of a brighter future. That created Zeus, and first carried us into space. There were no maps for where we were headed, and there are still none today. Our path is lit, not by certainty, but by boundless possibility. Our desire to learn all we can in this universe we call home. And to carry that knowledge forward, so that each discovery we make inspires the next. And so, as we move onward through great unknowns, ever connected to those wondrous first steps that began our voyage so many years ago. Each evolution carries us forth on our infinite adventure to tomorrow. And now, I believe the future is just about ready. Let's take a look, shall we? From the Zeus to the Aurora and beyond. Roberts Space Industries, delivering the stars since 2075.
All right. Well, I'm not going to beat a dead horse again, but if you all noticed, SeriousFun's face was just smiling through the whole commercial there. One of the things I will say, I
uplift
appreciate.
an angelic horse.
Well, one of the things I will say I love about this is the history that they give us. And for those of you who don't keep up with the lore, this video gives a tremendous amount of history. That ship right there, for example, the original Zeus, is I think the first time we've seen the original Zeus in the game. That is not the Zeus number 2, if I'm not mistaken. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they're starting out showing us their progression from the very first Zeus. And the other thing I want to comment about is watching them passing the Polaris and the Perseus and seeing the new lighting passes that they've done on these ships make them beautiful at nighttime. They look really great. But the fact that they give the history, every RSI ship we have in the game is included in this commercial, and
the Galaxy.
And the Galaxy. They've done a great job with this. Someone joked around and said, I think from CIG, is that Bengal carrier will never leave the planet.
Yeah, they said people got very upset that the Bengal carrier was in atmosphere, and they essentially said every Bengal carrier can go to atmosphere exactly one time.
One time, and that's it. So I know we talked about this in the first half of the show, but just real quick, give us a synopsis, your feelings about the Mark II.
The Mark II is glorious. It's the perfect starter ship. It's beautiful. They made the smart decision to have that Aurora shape with an evolved Aurora shape with the wings folded, but to fold them out, but not to necessarily put all the weapons on the wings, so that there is some survivability. We know what happens with wings in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you talk about getting new players excited about Star Citizen and the opportunity that they have if they get in that ship, as long as they can figure out K and Alt K, right? And recognize that they can move their wings and not necessarily have it tied to their landing gear and have all that fun. There's a lot to do in that one starter ship. We touched on this with the Crusader Intrepid, right? The Crusader Intrepid dropped, and the interior was so comprehensive that you started to say, well, for new players, there's a lot to do here in this one ship. People can be in this ship for a while, right, before they move on. And I feel there's a lot of that in the Aurora Mark II as well. So.
Yeah. 2 points here I want to highlight. One of them, and Frascart, help me out because I completely forgot the gentleman's name. As most of you know, a lot of you know, that this ship was probably inspired by someone from our community who came up with the concept of the Aurora's wings spreading like that. This was after the Scorpius came out. They took that idea, and thank you, VMXEO. Thank you, Thorn. Thank you so much. VMXEO posted something on Reddit, and I think the first hint we got of this was a few SELs back. Disco mentioned this, and he mentioned about VMXEO making this, and the devs were like, oh no, we haven't seen this, blah, 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 blah. And I said, that's interesting, because that's been out for a couple years, and they're doing this rework, and then Disco mentions this. Now, was not thinking that this would be a Mark II, but I just thought it was interesting when they were saying they were going to do a rework of the Aurora. I said, well, maybe they're going to do it to the Mark I. And some of you in our chat remember me saying they're going to do the wings, and people are like, no, they're not, no, they're not. And lo and behold, they did. Now, I will say the thing that I think is different in this ship, which unlike the Scorpius, I think they really tapped into the orthocopter of Dune with this for a lot of players more than the quote unquote X-Wing. I've heard more people reference Dune on this one than I've
Yeah.
heard Star Wars. Do you
Yeah,
think that's the case,
action of
Sirius?
it. The only difference between this and a Dune ornithopter is that these don't vibrate,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the angles of them make it much
Yeah.
more ornithopter than it does X-wing.
Yeah. They're tapping
And,
into the
and
psyche of us, sci-fi people again, right?
yeah, I mean the Scorpius is our X-wing,
hmm
the Mirai Guardian is our TIE fighter,
hmm
and this is our ornithopter.
Yeah.
And that's all good.
Yeah. Okay. All
All
right.
good.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Next one up here. Engineering updates. Now this is something it's always funny to see how things come and go. Not a lot of conversations about engineering recently. Engineering was the big deal on our last patch, and but they've been tweaking it. They've been listening to things that people have been suggesting, and there's some new things that have been getting introduced. We just had this recently. Somebody just, I forget who I was listening to. They were playing the game recently, and they were unaware that life support was working on the ships now. I had this happen to me right after it got implemented. I completely forgot. I was in a C2 and I was doing cargo runs. And on this particular occasion, I decided to do open all doors and didn't realize that I vented the entire ship, because as you know, when you do open all doors in a C2, it also opens all the hallway doors, right? So I thought those doors were
All
still
those
closed.
Crusader doors.
I thought those doors were still closed. So when I got up out of the seat, I'm like, oh my God. So I had to throw my helmet on real quick. But life support is working in many of the ships. It's still a little buggy in the Aurora, because the Aurora, I got out of the ship and came back in, and I started trying to breathe hard. And I'm like, okay, why is there no oxygen inside the ship? And I was in my hangar on top of it. But there have been doing some things with shield balancing, armor balancing. That's a big thing right now, right? Sirius, the new armor piece with alpha damage. People 2 months ago, a month ago, were, oh, light ships can still kite. They can take down the big ships. Multi-crew ships can't defend themselves, blah, 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 blah. And of course, CIG, as we always say, it'll come eventually. It'll work. They're still moving toward bringing back. And by the way, this is still not the end of protection for multi-crew ships. We have not gotten to the point of shield emitters yet. There's still a lot of balancing that still has to take place in relation to this, but this is a step in that direction. Anything you got on this, Sirius?
Yeah, my thing is I never take this stuff too seriously. I
Mhm.
engage with it, but I recognize it's going to change, it's going to get tweaked, it's going to get refined. One of the things that has popped up for me in my gameplay has been the occupying of so many pips by radar now, and having to pay
Yes.
attention to that upon initially getting into my ship and going, wait a minute, do I want the radar to have that many pips right now in terms of what I'm doing? Or do I want to be able to flip to that in certain scenarios, right, and make sure that these other systems, particularly shield generators, have it? And in talking with others, I've discovered that everybody's a little bit different. You have some people
Yep.
who will take a third of each of their cooler pips, where I always keep my coolers maximized because I'm always worried that I'm going to overheat, because when we first rolled out engineering, there was a lot of this overheating and testing for fire. It got me like thinking, oh, I just need to keep my coolers maximized. But other people are doing different things. So what this will encourage and continues to encourage, and this is what I love about Star Citizen, is if you really want to know your ship, it's going to take some time.
Yep.
It's going to take some scenarios. It's going
Mhm.
to take some experimentation.
Mhm.
And you may not really know a particular ship. And this is just with, let's just say, module base modules,
Mhm.
right? Let alone how all of that changes and tweaks you can have once you start changing different modules. But if you just take your base modules and try to go out and know your ship, that's going to take a
Mhm.
month.
Mhm.
That's going to take 2 months,
Mhm.
right? To really know your ship,
Yep.
right? And so um and the fact that we have this system, and then that's the truth of it, for me, is comforting, because
Yeah.
I want this to be my second life universe sim for the rest of my life. I don't want an engineering that, all it really is working a triangle between shields and weapons, and you work the triangle, and that's it, and you're off to doing your next thing, right?
Mhm.
There is a real role here, and I look forward to how they continue to evolve it. Life support, I'll just finish with this. Life support was hilarious in that we've had people, we've had moments where we go, oh my God, we've opened all the doors, close them. And so you fix it real quick, but it still has an impact on life support, particularly if you
Yeah.
got a lot of people on the ship, right?
Yes.
So we're starting to get an understanding of what's your real maximum crew in terms of the life support you've got on the ship, not just in terms of how many people you want on the ship.
Right.
Right? So
Absolutely.
that's going to be interesting as well.
I think your point about radar is important. In case you guys don't know, radar is now, we had a very generic radar that everybody kind of had equally. Now radar is just like all the other modules where you have different types of radar. And to Sirius's point, depending on how much power you allocate to it, will determine its range, its sensitivity. In fact, yesterday, Sirius U and CC were trying to find, whose ship was it? Was it
Black
Black
Intellect.
Intellect ship?
Yeah.
And because Black Intellect had killed the power on his ship, they could not find the ship. So
we
that thing
found
of
it,
pinging,
but we
no,
couldn't
I'm
find it
saying
with pinging it.
for pinging, that's what
Yeah.
I mean by pinging, right? So that whole thing of pinging ships now, and they've said that stealth ships now some stealth ships can go completely invisible, like completely invisible. You got to be like right up on them. So this is a new part of the whole thing with flight that our ships are going to now be, you got to be aware of, right? And it's making us rethink things too. So it's just something else to be aware of that's new to the game. Radar based aim assist range now tied to installed radar. New radar variants just added. I just said that. I forgot that.
Yeah,
This was
but
the next
you
slide.
can't swap out the radar stuff. It's added, but there's no swapping. Yeah, as I understand it. So
There's no modules yet. They don't have any modules yet.
yeah, the radar module is in, but I don't think you can take it out and swap it with anything
Oh, you
else
can't.
yet.
Oh, I thought that they came out with. I thought they had modules out now. Then I was wrong.
No,
I thought there was
I think
modules.
different ships have different modules.
Oh, different
but
types. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay. I stand
Oh,
corrected.
Danger Hobo says you can buy them at
you can
New
buy
Babbage.
them at New Babbage. Yeah. Okay.
So that's evolved as well.
All righty. Let's see. Oh, new Wicklow ship offerings, adding a new vehicle and new equipment to the ever-expanding Wicklow Emporium, the RSI Apollo Triage, with upgraded components and a unique base livery. This reward can be unlocked by completing Wicklow's contracts. I still don't care about these yet. I know one day I might, but I've not aspired to do the work to get a Wicklow ship. And I understand why people do it, because you get the better components, not just delivery, but the better components and everything. Have you gotten any Wicklow ships yet? Have you went and worked out there for one yet?
I haven't gotten any Wicklow ships yet.
No Wicklow Polaris? You, Mr. RSI?
Yeah, well, I have a Polaris, so I don't need a Wicklow Polaris. But
okay.
But I have, what I've tried to do is deal with Wicklow a little bit more organically. So, for example, there's a mission you do, I'm hungry or whatever, to sort of unlock Wicklow. You do that mission and you see some stuff. I did at one point take one of the Volt weapons because I ended up having the stuff I needed to go over and Wicklow it, right? And that was cool to do. But beyond that, I have not focused in on that. And I think it's because I want more interaction with this Banu than the screens.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
I like the Emporium. I've hung out there to just look around, but I want more interaction with the Banu and this is something, this goes back to Dave Haddock at the last live CitizenCon in Manchester, getting on the stage and talking to us about, we want you talking with folks in the verse, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's talking with people or talking with NPCs, and I feel like Wicklow is a subversion of that. You gave us our first Banu, but did you really? Right?
Yeah.
He's mainly on a screen. I want to see the dude, but I think it's because they haven't really finalized what the Banu are going to look like. I think that's why.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, what I want. is to have more of a
Interaction
narrative
thing.
relationship with him, and maybe to get some different types of missions and to have more out of this than it just being this, to be fair, um method that they have given us to get ships. If you don't want to earn the money to go buy the ship, you can just play the game
Right.
and end up with the ship, right? So
Right.
that is a good thing in principle, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't
Mm-hmm.
been implemented in a way where I've been super compelled to do any of it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like everything else, right? CIG presents options for the people who want to go that
right.
route. They can go that route. Other people may decide to salvage and get their parts or whatever. I agree with you, though. I want more interaction from the Banu when that time comes. But I'm going to be like Captain Jones when it comes to Wickelow's Emporium. I'm looking at them samurai swords. I don't know. That's what I don't care
Yeah.
about no ships. I want the samurai
Yep. I
swords.
want the swords. I want to
Okay.
be like, what do they call it? Garmin?
Yeah.
What
Right.
was
Oh
that bounty
God, the
hunter they had?
swords. Yeah. Additional ship updates. These are some updates. Large health increases for doors, ramps, and elevators across all ships. Added limited gimbals to the Aegis Vanguard's nose gun. Adjusted heavy bomber ship flight performance to match their intended values. This includes increases and decreases to thruster performance for the Eclipse, Redeemer, Spirit series, Starfighter. What is Starfighter? I saw
I
that
don't know.
before and was wondering what they meant for that. Freelancer series and Zeus series. Aegis Redeemer shop price greatly reduced. Shop price. Oh, the price of it is reduced. Okay.
Mm.
And updated the Origin 890 jump with a size 4 radar and updated the Origin 600i with a size 3 radar. Give me a couple off that list you're interested in. Anything in
Oh,
particular?
they're Inferno and Ion are the starfighters, the Ares
Ah,
starfighters.
that's right. They're starfighters. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Got to keep track of all this stuff.
Yeah, for me, when I saw this, it reminded me and we were in Pyro last night. It reminded me that the Zeus ES is an exploration ship and got plenty of fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Commander Chu was in a Gray's Market Shiv and was running out of fuel. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got in my Zeus, and it felt like, increase, decrease. It felt very smooth. It felt smoother in
Mm-hmm.
thruster performance than it had before. There has been some tweaking there
Okay.
for the Zeus series. I was in the ES, and then I jumped in the CL to go get two item fabricators
Mm-hmm.
because my hanger's funky,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost my Alliance Aid skinned one,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just really enjoyed flying those Zeuses. So
Okay. Okay.
I haven't flown any of these other
The other
non
ones.
RSI
Okay.
things.
Well, the things that I will talk about that I think is interesting, we'll have to see how this affects gameplay, particularly those who are into piracy and stuff, is about the health pools being increased on doors and ramps where people can't just shoot their way into ships anymore. That's going to be interesting to see what that is. The thing on the gimbal on the Aegis Vanguard, I had thought about this in relation to a different ship, and I was surprised to see them do this. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's cool. I want them, and I know some of y'all ain't gonna like this. I want them to do this exact same thing on the. I was talking to Captain Jones about this the other day on the Idris. The reason
Mm.
why I want them to do it on the Idris is because I personally want there to be a weapons officer position on that ship so that the pilot is not the one who fires that gun, but a weapons officer. And I think that if there's a coordination between a pilot and a weapons officer, and you give the weapons officer just enough liberty to gimbal that gun just slightly in directions that way they can lock onto targets, it would create better cooperative gameplay. And it removes the idea that somebody can pilot that ship and fire that big gun and not have to, deal with it. So I would love to see all those seats, those 6 positions or 5 positions up there in an Idris occupied by a weapons officer, an engineer, somebody who's handling navigation, a commander, and somebody else. That's what I think that's me personally. Even though I don't own an Idris, y'all, so I can't talk, right? But I would love to see that gimbaling kind of be brought into a ship like that. But for those of you who have Vanguards, you guys have gotten that gimbal thing there. And of course, the Origin ships, what else can you do but upgrade? That's all you can ever do. Make them better. That's all you can ever do is just make them better. So.
You can make them a lot better. No, the Origin 890 jump with a size 4 radar, that feels like almost command and control in terms of what you should be able to see and let other people know that you do see. When it comes into a forward battle area. But even
or what about this? What about even just
exploration area?
Well, I'm not even looking at exploration. I'm looking for protective defensive measures, right?
Right.
I mean, if somebody's coming in, on a ship like that, that's no small boat to turn around and if you need to get out of someplace, right?
You should see everybody before they see you.
Yeah, early detection is what I'm looking at more than anything. Even though I do agree with you that some people will do command and control, they'll put their tanks on the top of the ship and what I can't stand. Victoria, thank you so much for the resub. We appreciate that. Lance
Victoria, you're a blessing, brother.
Absolutely. Lance Arno, Vartano, and Escape Paper. Thank you all for the follows as well. Sorry we missed you guys earlier. Thank you for that. All right, let's see what we got next. More ship updates. I'm sorry, we have more. Missile and ground missile rebalance damage, explosion radius min-maxed, and boost phase duration for ground missiles. Blocked switching of gimbal mode outside the appropriate operator modes. Thruster adjustments for the Corsair, the 400i, and the Constellation Aquila to bring them closer to their intended values. Implementing a new size 3 neutron weapon for the persistent universe, the Maxo NN-15 cannon. New ship rentals added. The RSI Apollo Medevac, Triage, Esperia Prowler utility, Drake Golem, Misk Fortune, and the Aegis Avenger Titan. What you got there, Cal? Serious? What you want to talk about?
Well, what struck me on this was that the Titan wasn't available as a rental before. I never knew that.
Yeah.
So that's cool that's available, and certainly the Golem and the Fortune being available, that people can jump in to salvage and or mining fairly quickly, and try that out for themselves, particularly with mining leading now to materials which lead to crafting, I think is key. The Esperia Prowler utility is an underrated stealth cargo ship.
Yep.
Not only does it look incredible, right, but it is, the prisoner talks about the Prowler testing stealth. One of the things that we've heard CIG wants to do is to really zero in on particular types of stuff. Levangie fan, welcome to the channel. Particular types of stealth. So the Eclipse type of stuff where you sneak in, you fire, and then you've got to get out of there.
Yeah.
Another type of stealth is the Prowler stealth, which is flying low, flying slow or fast, but flying low, flying stealthy, and dropping the cargo off, or dropping off from a dropship's perspective, the troops, right? So it's going to be interesting to test those across this as well. Yeah. And then I want to see what this Maxox NN-15 cannon is, right? This neutron weapon. I'm very interested in that. Size 3 means, I'm only thinking about it for certain types of ships, but I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything big on this one, except for I know the ground missile rebalance thing. They were talking about explosion radiuses being brought in a little bit so that they don't over damage components and things like that. At least I think that's what I remember hearing, something to the effect of. The rentals aspect, I'm really curious. I would love to know, how, if there are a lot of people that don't know that rentals are part of the game, especially when they're new, right? They may go past a new deal because you see that big thing up there, but they're in the spaceport and really go run past rental kiosks and don't realize that if they want to do some mining, they could rent a prospector or they could rent a fortune. They're so thought on, I've got to buy one, I've got to save the money. Then they get these ships that maybe are in their hangar, and which I've heard people say, how do I get rid of these ships? Well, rental is another way to do that. You can rent for 1 day, 3 days, or 7 days. And a lot of people, I think, still forget about that rental aspect. It's more economical, to be honest with you, especially if it's something that you just want to use from time to time and not have to have clogging up your hangar. So just something else to consider.
I think it's an opportunity for them to think about NPC wild lines and screen usage. because they could use the environment to tell players more often about these things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, new player hairstyles. This seems like every patch CIG has given us 6 more new hairstyles for players to use for customization. This includes new short, curly, mohawk, braided ponytail styles. I have not even gone in to look at these yet, so when I get off tonight, I'm probably going to go in and look at my character and see if there's some new fro, new hairstyle that I might want to try out. Have you seen any of the new ones yet?
yeah, I think there's an additional one that sort of has a length and a shape like you and I have right now. There's an additional one of those.
Okay.
You know, what and I said this on Paul's show yesterday, but I think it bears repeating, is I can't remember the name of the dev who is in charge of the team that is executing the hairstyles, but it was back at CitizenCon LA where he made it clear that they were going to roll out an initial group of new hairstyles. First of all, he made it clear how hard hairstyle
To
work
do
is.
them.
Then he made it clear that he was going to roll out some, and he said, and we are not going to stop. We're going to keep rolling out hairstyles. And I think he has been the most consistent outcome across these patches for CIG, period.
Yeah.
Because they have kept coming, right? And they keep coming. And I just want to say that we see him. I want him to know we see him. I need to remember his name so I can big up him on some social media. But we see that team, and they have done the work, and they continue to do the work, and they have done exactly what they said they were going to do. Yeah, so
that's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The People's Service Stations, implementing 4 new social stations in Nix, managed by members of the People's Alliance. These service stations offer a safe haven with basic restock, rearm, and refueling operations, along with many different shopping options for pilots traveling through Nix. I have not been to Nix since Nix came out. I think I went in there about maybe a month afterward, and then I haven't been back since. Honestly, I have not been back. And it's not because of any problems. Everything I've been doing has been in Stanton for some crazy reason. I went there when it first was weird, and not weird, but when it was kind of buggy, not buggy, but laggy. Right. That's the word I'm looking for. And then I went back a few weeks later, and it was great. I had a great experience there, but I didn't do anything there. And even when we were doing the Alliance Aid missions, I didn't take any of the missions that were there because you guys were having problems unloading in Nix. You could pick up in Nix and go back, but it was so I never went. I just never did. No shade on Nix. I like Nix. I just never have been. Now these new stations are there, so I have not seen them, but I've heard that they're definitely different. They're different. And the one advantage I hear to these stations, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you can actually set them as a spawn point in the game now when you start. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when you start in the game and you can select the Nix, you get Levski, and then you get the 4 social stations. All 5 of those are options now for you to start at, and you can make those your home. One of the interesting things about the People's Service Stations is that they lack refineries, right? So it is not a one-stop shop the way, for example, Levski can be, right? It is when they say basic restock, rearm, and refueling, that's correct. But it does put you out in the midst of one of the asteroid rings, right? So you can go out from a service station, turn 180 degrees and fly for 15 kilometers and be mining immediately.
Nice.
Immediately. So that is a strength to that if you're interested in that. You also, if I remember correctly, there's no extra large hangars. So there's docking ports for extra large ships. Right.
Yep. So bring your Polaris and stuff like that. You gotta park it. Get your parking skills up at the docking commons. Okay. There's an FPS weapons art refactor. Newly updated the visual material and textures for many weapons and equipment throughout the PU, including all the Bearing series, the BR2, GP33, the P8, the P8SC, the S38. For the Gemini series, the AO3, C54, LH86, R97, and S71. Klaus and Werner, the Arclight, Arrowhead, the Demico, the Gallant, the Lumen, the Lightning Bolt series for the Ubrev and the Azcav, the Kastak Arms for the Karna, and then the fire extinguisher. I have not looked at these with great detail, even though I will say this. When I look at these things in VR, they're amazing. I mean, I don't even want to get on the big VR kick, but I will say this. When you look at this stuff in VR, you see where the work went. That's all I can tell you. The level of detail is stupid because you just don't see some things in 2D. It is amazing to see both the animation and the detail that they put in these weapons. But they have done this. As you and I both commented about this too, it seemed like they even did somewhat of a lighting graphics pass just in general in certain areas in the game. But here we're talking about just weapons, stuff like that. So, any thoughts on these?
Yeah, I noticed it on the C-54, particularly around that area forward of the trigger.
With the dial further up.
Yeah, that dial area.
Okay.
And I noticed it on the animations and the lighting around the animations on the ads cav. To the point where I was wondering, like, is this new or did I just miss this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so other people will have to speak, and hopefully they can in the chat, to other weapons that they've noticed, because you notice it on the weapons that you use, or if you've seen a weapon at a particular light and from a particular angle and that's changed,
right,
you notice it more clearly. So that's how I saw it on the C-54. But yeah, I like these refining. I haven't come across any weapon that I don't like the look of yet, so there's nothing that I want them to retract yet, so that's good.
Yeah, you look at the amount of weapons. It's very easy to forget how many weapons are in this game, but the level of detail and the uniqueness, and the level of branding design that they do on these games, on some of these guns, is just pretty amazing to me that they do what they do. I got to go back and look at some stuff though, because I haven't looked at them in 4.7, so I'd be curious to see. Some additional weapons and item updates, implementing multiple outfit variants for the Claw Salamanders gang in Nyx, a complete light armor, cape, and mask. I know a lot of us saw the trailer for that. If you haven't seen them yet, they are in the trailer. They also added two handed tractor and salvage tool. Added two handed tractor and salvage tool to more shops. Armor short names were added, giving armor pieces abbreviated display names for UI context in the inventory grid. I think it's supposed to be two different things there, which it is. The armor short names is supposed to be something different. It added the two-handed tractor and salvage tools just to more shops. Before, you used to have to get the two-handed tractor beam at cargo decks, and I think it was just cargo decks and something. But now they've expanded it, basically, right?
Right.
Let me put that correct. Anything about those items in particular?
No.
All right, let me.
I mean, the Claw Salamanders gang. The thing that I would talk about with them is not being talked about here.
Okay.
But I'll leave that for
folks to find out on their own. We don't want to spoil it for you folks on that one, on the Claw Salamander gang. Okay, fair enough. That's fair. I appreciate that. Okay, speaking of VR updates, wow, the VR team has been just literally dropping stuff, not just when a patch comes out, but we've been getting constant patches. And one of the biggest ones that we got recently was Open XR. Is that what it's called? I forget. Is it Open XR? Open XR being implemented into it. Now, what that means, folks, to make it easy, normally when people were logging in with VR, they would have to use something like Steam VR, or they'd have to use Metasthing in order to get it to work. And CIG made Open XR. It's something that you always have to select. They made it so that it is now a part of Star Citizen. So if you want to activate VR, they've streamlined a lot of stuff. Let's just say that they've made things a lot easier and better. So when you're on the launcher, you go to settings, you click on the game that you're using, if you're using live or whatever, and then at the very bottom, there's a thing that basically says that you're going to play the game in VR. You switch that over, and once you launch the game now, it automatically goes into the VR mode for you. At least it does for me. Is it the same thing with you, Serious?
Okay. Me too. And you're on Pimax, I'm on Quest. So
yes. And you used to have to jump through several hoops to get it active. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. You'd have to mess with it. Now it is just streamlined. It's just streamlined. And they've been doing updates to the UI, making things. And by the way, the OpenXR thing makes there's a less load on your system. You should get better frame rates with this new thing that they've added. They said further updates to the experimental VR feature have been included in 4.7 to add more control. They fixed the multiple issues experienced than the first release. I have not been in 4.7. Have you, Serious? I was in 4.6.
Not in VR.
Okay.
Not in VR.
All right.
Yeah, I am. It's funny because the game looks good on your screen. The game looks good in VR. The game just looked good. So, the last time I was in too long, and
you freaked you out.
My frame rate dropped, and I got a little bit sick. So, I've got to jump back in and tweak my settings for 4.7 because I do enjoy, particularly hangar and flying in VR. I mean, I feel like the flying in VR for Star Citizen is becoming the seated reference VR experience. So
yeah, the issue is you need to go buy a 5090 and you need to go get like a 2500 VR headset. So $5,000 drop, you're good. Maybe, well, actually a little bit more than that, probably $6,000 drop, and you'll be fine.
The best thing about you saying that with these headphones on is my wife can't hear you even mention the idea of doing something like that.
No, listen, for those of you who have not had the opportunity to do VR, again, we're not recommending that you go out and buy VR yet. We really aren't. We're just telling people if they have it, give it a try. That's where we are with this thing is right now. They're still working on it, but believe you me, they are working diligently and very quickly in getting this thing really tweaked up good. So if you know somebody who's got a VR headset, particularly if it's a wireless VR headset, which makes it really easy for those of you who have any Quest friends, or even if you have a Quest 2, give it a try. I've heard some people use the thing before the Quest, whatever the thing was before the Quest, that they've actually gotten in there and tried it out with that. But anyway, if you have a chance to check it out in VR, take advantage of it. We think you'll really appreciate it. Last but not least, there were additional core tech updates. There was a screen render pass, screen ratio added to render pass for improved display compatibility. There was new music added throughout the PU, which I will admit I did hear, and further entity count updates to NICs to reduce unintended high amounts. Now, some of you all know that in NICs, one of the things that came with it is that there was an expansion of the star map. And the star map now shows on the map the locations of NICs 1, 2, and 3, even though they are not there. Now, I heard that it is possible to fly toward the planets and not go to them, but you can see them. Now, they're probably like just that 2D image like they were back in the day when Crusader didn't really exist. I don't know if you've heard that at all, but and I know Jade's there, so maybe Jade can tell us if that's true. But I thought I saw that there was some images of what NICs 1, 2, and 3 look like out there.
Yeah, I have heard the same thing. There's a low detail version of the planet, NICs 1 in particular, that's available to folks, and you can't go there, but you can see it. What I'm excited about is that this stuff is readying us, including the music, is readying us for Planet Tech V5, Starchitect, and NICs 1. And don't forget that last month, Will Hain was interviewed in the Star Citizen newsletter and said that we continue to be on track to getting this later in the year. So excited about that.
And that's not else. You quoted him. What else did he say? He said something else too about NICs 1.
I don't know what he said.
You said he said something about y'all gonna be blown away by NICs 1 or something.
Oh yeah. That we're gonna be blown away by it. Yeah. And we're already blown away by what we saw on the at the CitizenCon Direct and the CitizenCon before that, in terms of the way that Planet looks, right? I think a lot of people's PCs. You talk about VR. I think a lot of people's PCs are going to be blown away too, trying to see this thing look the way it's supposed to look. But I'm excited because this is supposed to be the platform upon which to build, for base building and everything else.
Right. Right.
People are theorizing that base building will happen on Nix 1 because it will be Starkitect representative, and they'll have to go back and make other planets Starkitect representative. So, in any case, very excited for them to reduce entity counts in Nix so that we have a lot of headroom for what we're going to get.
Yeah. I will say this as we get ready to close out. My last comment would be about the music. We were out the other day. And I always keep my music on most of the time. And believe me, I understand people shutting off the music because they want to be able to hear the environment if something's sneaking up or whatever the case may be. I tend to always have it on at some level. It's not at the 80%. It might be at 30 or 50 or something like that, depending. But what I will say is we were in Pyro and it was some new music that I had not heard before. And it was beautiful. The music set the setting. We were going down to an outpost to start a fight. And as you guys know, they have this stuff where music triggers at certain points. And it didn't trigger in a way that it interfered with my gameplay. It triggered while we were anticipating something happening, and that music heightened that anticipation. So I want to tell you guys, consider setting your music at 20%, 30%. Just, it didn't come out where I couldn't hear things that were around me, but it added to the cinematic feel and the mood of the space. And I know many of you have come out of Quantum at a location or rolled up on the ASD facility and the creepy alien-esque music comes on, and I think you're missing something. I'm missing out on something. Now, if you don't like, now some people just don't like hearing music in their games, and that's fine if that's the way you play. But I just want to encourage people that Pedro has done some amazing soundtracks for this game, and I think that just give yourself the opportunity to hear it once, and if you want to turn it off afterward, that's fine. But don't miss it. It sets such a mood when you're playing and approaching a facility or a moon or going into a cave.
Or Yormandi.
Or Yormandi. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was creepy going down there with the music on. Because I hadn't been down there with it. I was like, oh my God, it set such a mood when I was going down. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Well, we hit it. We made our mark. We got in. We know we started about 10 minutes late. But we appreciate you guys being here and hanging out with us as we've been kind of chopping through this show today, talking about 4.7. You guys
we were 10 minutes late, but we went 26 minutes over. How about that? They got some extra.
They got a little extra in there, right? They did. We squeezed it all in. But again, we want to say thank you guys for being here with us today. We covered a lot of ground with the opening show and also this part. We want to talk about what we've got coming up on next week. Next Sunday, I know we announced this last week, but we kind of flipped the script because 4.7 came out, because 4.7 was supposed to be next week, because we always try to calculate when we think a patch is going to come out, but
before you go into this, do we have any Q&A?
Oh, yes, we do. We actually have not plenty, but we do have a few Q&As. I saw them pop in. Thank you for reminding me. I was so conscious about the time that I forgot that we had a couple questions here. Let's see. The very first one that we have is from Fastcart. What is your favorite Aurora skin and why? You're Mr. RSI. I'm gonna let you answer that one.
My favorite Aurora skin is the Mark 1. On the Mark 1 is the South by Southwest 2015 Aurora skin. I will be flaunting that on a regular basis. And on the Mark 2, I have to say that it is the shade skin that allows the Aurora Mark II to be in all black, closely followed by the base skin.
Okay.
Base skin. So yeah.
Okay. Is that Borealis skin out yet? Is that out? I heard it wasn't, or is it?
You mean that one with the iridescent look?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's out. In fact,
it is.
When I first pulled up my Mark II, it was wearing it already. Like I wanted, wow. And I had to send the Mark II back down. Like
send it back down. Okay, that's fair. Next question was from Pops in Space. He says, "What kind of projectiles do you anticipate CIG will develop for the Ultraflex, the crossbow?"
What do you think, Griff?
Well, the object and the way CIG marketed that crossbow is that it's a silent but deadly kind of thing, right? Where you're taking people out quietly. But of course, there's also explosive heads that could be used, concussion heads that could be used. Um, I know there are some people who have even asked for something that's like a tranquilizer dart kind of thing, which I don't know. I don't know if you can give that to us. I'm just not sure if you can give us the tranquilizers.
You saw how we acted with med guns in
Oh, with
the
med guns, right? With med pins, right? Knocking folks out. But I think, yeah, and there you go, Tech Zero, pointy ones. There you go. I think that initially we're definitely going to get the ones that are just straight arrowheads that are going to, take people out. Um, Explosive could be a thing. Some people have asked about even things like an EMP version of something. Again, it's about stealth, right? It's about being able to launch an attack on someone and basically they don't know where it comes from, right? I'm curious about range. I'm curious about cost. That's going to be an interesting weapon because if the size of it is not a small weapon. And so it'll be interesting to see how compact it is, if you can only carry it by itself, like a rail gun, or do you carry that in another weapon? How many bolts can you carry with you also is going to be another factor. CIG is going to be streamlining this aspect of, what we can carry. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to balance out. What do you think, Sirius, about the bow?
Yeah, everything that you said plus reload time, I think will be interesting.
Yes, crossbows, yeah.
If it takes a while,
Mm-hmm.
that's different than if I can reload like very quickly. And then two people have mentioned now in the chat a hunting net for capture.
Capture.
Maybe something that you can use that doesn't work on humans,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it does in a bounty hunting scenario, but works on Copian. When we have to do those missions that you get to reduce the population, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be very interesting.
Something with an electrical charge would be cool too. It's what do you call it? Non-lethal. Just something that knocks you out. You know what I mean? But I don't know if you get poked with an arrow at that speed. I don't know if there's such a thing as something that's not going to knock you out. I don't know. Maybe there's a concussion type of thing. I don't know. We'll have to see what they come up with. Yeah, long range taser, Tech Zero. There you go. Okay, and our last question comes from Fastcard. He says CIG has made about $3.9 million with this patch since Wednesday. Does that surprise you, or does that amount seem about right?
I thought they would make 5, so they're
Yeah,
actually under.
Yeah,
where I
we
thought
said they were
would
going to
be.
sell like hotcakes, right? We said if they made that thing with the wings, those things are going to fly, which they did. I mean, they've been selling, right?
Yeah, they may end up
4
at
million.
5 by the time it's all said and done, but
Yeah,
there's only
4
2 more
days.
days left in the
In a week.
in the month.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you talk about overall sales, regardless of it crossing over into triggerfish, then I think they'll end up where they need to be. I pay attention to
Your voice is dropping off. Just speak up just a little bit.
oh, sorry. I pay attention to the month to month as this fast card who's asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be the first month that's slightly under. And I think they may have thought that the Aurora Mark II would carry them over. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust in the following months. What do you think about the 3.9 million so far?
Listen, they're going to make their money. I just said that they're going to sell. I mean, not to be funny, I'd even be curious like how many Mark I's they sold. Their marketing people, regardless of what people think about their marketing people, they know stuff about marketing. And the fact that they decided to do that 6-pack on the Mark I, I'm really curious if people bid for that just because they just wanted to collect them all, if for no other reason. The fact that they dropped the paints, and of course the Mark II and the SE, even the SE. And I've been totally surprised at the amount of hubbub that has been about a starter ship, especially this particular starter ship. But people seem to like it. And of course, people like the Mark II. I haven't heard anybody other than the people that felt nostalgic about the original design. And it's not that they don't like it. They like a little bit more of the original design. But To me, 4 million. I'm not going to sneeze at $4 million. I remember they could barely make $4 million in half a year. So
Yeah,
I didn't make that in 4 days.
I think the more instructive number
Mm-hmm.
is 45,000 new accounts.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Versus last year at this time it was 26,000. So they've gone up 73% on new
Absolutely.
accounts with a starter ship launch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that maybe people are saying to their friends, and some of that is going to be people with alt accounts always, but maybe, some people are saying to their friends, hey, look at this new ship. It's a good time to get in the game.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for those questions. Again, next week we are going to be revisiting Star Engine. For those of you here last week, we talked about this. We're going to go back and watch the Star Engine video from 2 years ago, and basically have our little checklist and go through that list and say what's done, what's half done, what ain't done. That's basically going to be it. And we're going to be talking about the progress of Star Engine as we're approaching 4.8, and of course throughout this year as we're moving towards Squadron 42. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us on next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But of course, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Star Citizen this week. Hopefully we'll see you guys then. Thank you again for being here tonight. Thank you for everyone who subbed, who followed. Trip Rodriguez, who's a great guy. Thank you, Trip, for thinking about us tonight. We appreciate you. And again, Sirius, co-producer and friend, thank you so much for being here. We are going to be doing an announcement about Quantum, but we're waiting to hear something, right? So I was hoping that we could have announced something by the end of the month, but we're in hold right now with CIG. So hopefully we'll get to you guys fairly quickly about something, because a lot of you guys have been asking, are you doing something with Quantum? And we're negotiating. So keep your ears open for us, all right? And follow us on social media, and hopefully you'll hear an announcement there as well. We're going to go ahead and set up a raid for our good friend and teammate, Yo-Yo Meg, who is out there right now cracking rocks, and she's got a giveaway going as well. Yes, she has a giveaway going. She's drinking right now in the game. So when you get over with Yo-Yo Meg, let her know that you came from the Soul Citizens, and send her some love, of course. And we thank you guys for being here. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. And as always, peace, love, and soul. See you next week. Ciao.